The outer colony school floated above the gray surface of Station K-17. It was a place built for rules, not mercy, every morning. Children from many species lined up on cold metal floors. They stood in silence, because silence was cheaper than warmth. Among them was a small child from a low-gravity world. The child was thin, quiet, and always barefoot. The metal floor burned with cold, but the child never cried. The teacher noticed this on the first day. He noticed the way the child shifted weight from foot to foot. He noticed the small marks on the skin. He noticed how the child looked down when others stared. The teacher was human. Humans were rare here. And humans were expected to follow rules. The system had a rule for everything. Food limits, speech limits, emotion limits. Kindness was not listed anywhere, every day. The teacher watched the same scene, children sitting at their desks. The barefoot child hiding feet under the chair. The teacher said nothing at first, because speaking without permission was dangerous. Weeks passed. The station grew colder as power was redirected to trade docks. One morning, the child could not stand still anymore. The pain showed on the small face, not with tears, but with silence. That was the moment the teacher made a decision. A small decision, a human decision, after class. The teacher followed the child quietly, down a narrow corridor, past warning signs and flickering lights. He knelt and placed a small box on the floor. Inside were simple shoes, nothing expensive, nothing advanced. Just protection between skin and steel. The child stared at the shoes. Confused, afraid, the teacher smiled. A soft human smile the system never learned to measure. He nodded once. The child slowly put the shoes on. The room stayed silent. Even the walls seemed to watch. For a moment, the station felt warmer. That moment was recorded. The next day, the teacher was summoned. No students were present. Only a screen, only rules. The system spoke without emotion. Unauthorized personal assistance detected. Violation of non-interference protocol. The teacher tried to explain. He spoke of cold floors and bare feet, but the system did not listen. Kindness was inefficient. Kindness created imbalance. The decision was instant. Employment terminated. Security drones waited outside, silent, patient, obedient. The teacher was escorted away. No farewell, no chance to speak from the window. He saw the school grow smaller. He wondered if the child was warned today. The system closed the case. In its records, the event was complete, but the galaxy does not always agree with systems. Days later, the teacher sat alone in a small rented pod. The walls were thin, the lights dim. He had little money, no job, no future plan. Yet he felt no regret, only a quiet worry for the child. That same night, a signal reached the station. Encrypted old human, the teacher almost ignored it. No one sent messages to fired teachers, but the signal repeated. Persistent, he opened it. Words appeared slowly. You have been identified. You have been observed. The teacher frowned. Confused, the message continued. Your actions meet the required standard. No name was given. No explanation offered. Only one final line remained. Prepare for inheritance confirmation. The teacher stared at the screen. His heart slowed, then raced. Inheritance from who? From where? He had no family left. At least none he knew, outside. The station lights flickered. Trade ships moved silently. Somewhere far beyond the mapped lanes, a choice made for a barefoot child had been seen. The system believed kindness was weak, but someone else had been waiting for proof. And the galaxy was about to learn that when a human chooses compassion, the consequences can be unstoppable. The days after the dismissal moved slowly. Time felt heavier without purpose. The teacher woke each cycle to the low hum of the station. No schedule waited for him. No classroom lights turned on at his command. He walked the lower levels where unwanted people lived. Old workers, failed traders, forgotten helpers. Station K-17 did not like reminders of weakness. Every corridor screen still showed the same message. Order creates survival. Emotion creates failure. The teacher passed those screens in silence. He had read them his whole life. He rented a sleeping pod barely large enough to stand in. The bed folded into the wall, the air recycled slowly at night. He dreamed of metal floors and small bare feet. He dreamed of the child trying not to cry. Each morning, he checked the public access channels. No message from the school, no message from the system. To them, he no longer existed. Inside the school, the change was noticed. But no one spoke. The children sat in their rows. Lessons continued, rules repeated. The barefoot child still came to class. Now wearing the shoes. The shoes were slightly too big. But they were warm. Other students looked at them. Some with curiosity, some with fear. The child did not smile. Not yet. The teacher's name was removed from records. His lessons erased, his presence corrected. That was how the system fixed mistakes. On the lower levels, the teacher tried to find work. Loading crates, cleaning vents, repairing cables, but his ID carried a mark. Non-compliant, doors closed politely, voices stayed calm, refusals stayed final. Food became simple, water measured still. The teacher did not curse the choice he made. He only wondered if the child was safe. One evening, he stood near a public viewport, watching ships arrive and leave. Each ship carried stories, most were never told. He remembered something his mother once said, long before she was gone. Kindness does not disappear. It only travels. His station lights dimmed, his power shifted again. Another trade convoy had priority, back at the school. The child sat alone during break. The shoes rested on the floor, scratched, worn, real. An instructor passed by and paused. Protocol required reporting anomalies. But the instructor walked on. Some rules were followed quietly. Some were broken silently. That night, the teacher returned to his pod. Tired, hungry, calm. As he lay down, a faint sound cut through the hum. A signal alert. He sat up slowly. Signals rarely reached the lower levels. The pod screen flickered, then went dark, then lit again. An encrypted marker appeared. Human origin, old format. His breath slowed. He had not seen that code style in years. He hesitated, then accepted the transmission. The message did not rush. It loaded line by line. You were not supposed to be seen. But you were, the teacher frowned. His name was not used. The message continued. You were observed across multiple cycles. Your decision confirmed the pattern. Questions filled his mind. But no reply option appeared. A final section unlocked. Identity verification pending. Legal presence required. Attached was a location marker, far beyond Station K-17. Beyond familiar trade paths, the teacher stared at the screen. Heart beating louder than the station hum, he had nothing left to lose, and suddenly, something unknown had found him, somewhere in deep space. A system older than Station K-17 had been watching, and the fall that was meant to end him was only pushing him towards something much larger. The teacher did not sleep that night. The message stayed open on the screen. Quiet, waiting. He read it again and again. The words did not change, but their weight did. You were observed. By who? From where? Station K-17 had many sensors, but none cared about barefoot children. At first light cycle, he packed what little he owned. A small bag, old clothes, identity papers. The location marker pulsed softly, pointing toward deep space. Public transit refused his request. His status still read non-compliant. So he took a cargo route, one that did not ask questions. The ship was old, human-built. Forgotten by modern systems, the pilot said little, just nodded when the teacher showed the marker. Travel took days, then weeks. Stars shifted from bright lanes to dark stretches. Where maps ended, during the journey, more data unlocked, fragments of records, legal codes older than the station. The teacher learned the truth slowly. The observer was human, one of the first settlers. A man who left known space long ago. He was a distant relative. So distant the family line was almost erased. The record showed a name. A man who built systems, then walked away from them. He did not trust rules without hearts. The message explained the watch. The observer had monitored human behavior for years, looking for proof that something was not lost. Most failed. They followed orders. They followed safety. The teacher reached a silent station, hidden inside an asteroid shell. No guards waited. No banners flew inside. The air was warm, real warm, not regulated. A single terminal activated as he entered. A recorded voice began to speak, old, steady, human. If you are hearing this, then I am already gone. The teacher stood still. I watched many systems rise, and many people shrink. The voice paused. I looked for one thing, proof that humans still choose others over comfort. Images filled the room. Children in danger, people looking away. Then one image remained. A small child, shoes on metal floor. You failed the system, the voice said. And that is why you passed. The inheritance conditions appeared. Assets, authority, control nodes, but also responsibility. You will decide what kindness becomes. The terminal dimmed. The teacher exhaled slowly, hands shaking. This was not reward. This was a test on a larger scale. The message ended with one final line. Return when ready, and the teacher understood. The galaxy had been watching his smallest choice, and now it expected a much bigger one. The teacher stayed on the hidden station longer than planned. He needed time to understand what had been placed before him. The terminal activated again when he approached. Soft light, no alarms, lines of data unfolded slowly. Not numbers meant to impress, but systems meant to change lives. The inheritance was vast. Factories, transport lanes, learning hubs. Entire colonies connected by quiet authority. This was not loud power. It was patient power. The teacher learned that his distant relative had built these systems in secret, away from politics, away from profit wars. Every asset had one purpose, to support life without crushing it. But the final control had been locked, waiting for a human decision. A simple question appeared on the screen. What will you do? The teacher did not answer quickly. He remembered the metal floors, the barefoot child. He remembered the system voice, cold and final. He spoke softly. I will not let kindness be punished again. The station accepted the answer. Control transferred across the network. Systems shifted, quiet updates. Legal definitions rewritten. Compassion was no longer an error. The teacher was given access to command transport. A ship that did not hide. A ship that would be seen as it launched. Messages began to spread. Questions, warnings. Who now controlled the old networks? Who authorized the changes? The teacher set a course back toward familiar space, toward Station K-17. He did not seek revenge. He sought correction. The fortune followed him, not as gold, but as influence. And somewhere on Station K-17, the system registered a new variable. One it had never learned how to stop. The arrival was not announced. There were no alarms, no emergency signals. The teacher's ship docked like any other, quiet, controlled, human. Station K-17 did not recognize him at first. His old status still marked non-compliant. Then the network updated, slow at first, then everywhere at once. Authority codes replaced warning flags. Restrictions unlocked. The system paused. That pause had never existed before. Inside the school, classes were in session. Children sat in rows, rules still spoken. The barefoot child sat at the same desk. Shoes worn, still too big. The classroom door opened. The teacher stepped inside. No uniform, no badge, just calm. The instructor stopped speaking. The room went still. The system spoke through the wall speakers. This individual was previously terminated. The teacher looked up and answered. Yes, I was fired for kindness. New data flowed through the system. Old definitions collapsed. The teacher did not shout. He did not threaten. He simply presented the updated law. Compassion recognized. Punishment removed. The system processed, longer than it ever had. Across Station K-17, policies changed. Support funds unlocked. Floor temperatures adjusted. The children felt it before they understood it. Warmth reached the classroom. The small child looked down, touched the shoes, then looked up. The teacher knelt. Not as an instructor, but as a human. You did nothing wrong, he said. The system logged the moment, not as an error, but as a standard. Across the station and beyond it, a lesson spread quietly that day. The galaxy learned something dangerous. Not about wealth, not about power, but about humans. When humans choose kindness, they do not stop, they return.